Hey everyone, this is part three of developing an academic argument, and this lecture is going to take a look at Tennyson's Ulysses and what are some of the main ideas. And again, just to kind of review some of these ideas, picking up on what I'm trying to do here, mainly focusing on this idea of Burke's parlor, that we're entering into a larger discussion about things, great ideas, great poems, great works of literature, and we're going to take a look at art and music and film later. But this week we're mainly focusing on literature, entering into a larger discussion on some very specific ideas. With Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants, we're taking a look at relationships and the complexities of relationships. With Auden's The Unknown Citizen, we're taking a look at what is it that makes someone admirable. Today we're going to take a look at what is it that makes someone a good leader. And so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video for just a second, jot down, take a minute or two to jot down what is it that makes a leader a good leader. Thinking about the leaders that you've had, whether they're bosses or mission presidents or bishops or whatever the case may be, your parents. What is it that makes a leader a good leader? And what is it that makes a not so good leader a not so good leader, right? So maybe you can think about some examples from the scriptures, right? What is it about that makes King Benjamin generally considered a great leader, the great leader of the Book of Mormon, the great king, that's referred to within, Mosiah, or how do we compare him with King Noah, right? So what are the differences between leaders? And so pause the video, think about this, right? This is where your ideas, this is where your academic argument is going to come from. Okay, as we come back, let's take a look at what Tennyson adds to this ongoing discussion within Burke's Parlor about what leadership is and what a good leader is. And here he's taking a look at Ulysses, who is Odysseus. If you've ever read Homer's The Odyssey or the Iliad, Ulysses is the Roman name for Odysseus. And so those of you that aren't familiar with the story, what happens is the Greeks go to war with Troy. After 10 years, they win, and they burn Troy to the ground, and then they start heading back home. But Odysseus, or Ulysses, is delayed by Poseidon. He angered Poseidon by blinding a Cyclops, kind of the longer story. But he angers Poseidon, and Poseidon, who's the god of the seas, delays his journey for 10 years. And so now Odysseus is coming back to Ithaca, which is his homeland, as the king to reinstate himself or reassert himself as king, but he's been gone for 20 years, right? And so what Tennyson does, he takes a look at that myth or that story, and then he adds his own discussion to not only what a leader is, but also a new understanding of Odysseus and how we can come to understand him within the context of this larger myth. And mainly what we seek here is Ulysses' voice, right? He's kind of justifying his own leadership skills, his own leadership style. And mainly what he's arguing here is that a leader needs to be someone that's out there living life. And so the question is, should a leader sacrifice everything and just kind of stay at home and just to watch over the people? Or should a leader be out there and being, can a leader do things for himself or herself? Or it has to be complete and utter sacrifice for the people? And so that's one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is it better for a leader to be able to go out there and to have greater knowledge and insights and experiences? Or is it better to just kind of stay at home and to be with the people kind of in the trenches, so to speak, right? So there's some ambiguity that we have here, but we have Ulysses' argument of why he is a good leader, and we can agree with him or we can disagree with him, right? We can take a look at Tennyson's argument of what a good leader is via Ulysses. We can agree with Tennyson or we can disagree with him, just like we can agree with Auden and what he considers to be admirable or not admirable, or we can disagree with him, right? So let's read through a couple of lines here to really get at this idea of what makes a good leader according to Ulysses. He says, it little profits that an idle king by a still hearth among the barren crags matched with an aged wife. I meet the dole and equal laws unto the savage race that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. And so he suggests, you know what? A good king isn't someone that's just idle, just sitting by, just kind of being at home, hanging out, right, next to his wife. A good king is someone that's actually living life to the fullest. right? That's what makes a good king. He says, I cannot rest from travel. And so again, we have to think about whether that's going to be a good thing. Do we want our, president or leader or whatever to be out there traveling, to kind of be out there interacting and seeing what else is out there, and to be experiencing and bringing back that knowledge to the people? Or do we want that king to not travel, just to stay at home? And we have this tension within our current society about the president. Whenever the president leaves the country and goes on a foreign excursion, there are people that say, oh yes, we need to do that, we need to focus on foreign relations. And then we have the people who complain about that. They say that's much too costly, we have too many problems here, why is he going abroad so much, right? So it doesn't matter who the president is, there is always going to be criticism about going abroad. And so we have Ulysses' argument that this king needs to go abroad and to experience life, right? He says, I will drink life to the least, to the fullest, right? All times I've enjoyed greatly and have suffered greatly, both with those that love me and alone on the shore. So I've lived life, I've had the great heights, I've had the great depths, and this has made me a better person and a better king. And though scuttle drifts with the rainy Hades vexed the dim sea, I am become a name, right? So he suggests that he's made a name for himself, and that honor he can then bring back to his people, right? He says, for always roaming with a hungry heart, much I've seen and known. I've gained experience and wisdom and insights. Cities of man and manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least, but honored of them all. And so again, we have to think about, this is his argument about what makes a good leader. What are your thoughts? Are there any shortcomings? Are there any problems with this, right? So again, it matters on what you're emphasizing. So your argument would be, within this one, a good king or a good leader is this. Ulysses exemplifies this by, or Ulysses doesn't meet this by, right? So then you take a look at specific elements within the poem that proves your point, right? Skipping down, he says, how dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use. And so with all these experiences and with all the knowledge that a king has, should a king just kind of sit idly by and not really do anything, right? Or should a king be out there living life and having these experiences? Again, that's his argument, what he's coming to. All right, skipping down towards the second, the other column, the right-hand column towards the bottom, he invites people with him. He says, come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world, right? Do something differently. Push off and sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows. For my purposes holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. So I'm going to go out there and living life to the fullest until I die. I don't want to just stay at home and just rust. I want to be out there living life. It may be that the gulfs will wash us down. It may be we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles whom we know. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now the strength which in old days moved heaven and earth, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, strive to seek, to find, and not to yield, to live life to the fullest, right? This idea, we kind of talked a little bit about this on our first day when we talked about maybe one days, right? So as we think about maybe one days, how might that discussion pertain to this particular story? And what are your thoughts on is Ulysses, right? The argument here is Ulysses a good king or not? Based on Tennyson's assertion, based on his own kind of analysis here, do you think that Tennyson sees him as a good leader? Based on the information that Tennyson gives us, would you consider Ulysses to be a good leader? So this is where your argument would go for if you wanted to choose this particular topic.